Παρακαλώ, αν μπορούμε να μαζευτούμε σιγά-σιγά. Can we start, please? Okay. I think that we are ready, almost. For your information, the next coffee break will be 5 minutes. So, it's time for our first panel discussion, Digital Disruption, Transforming the Maritime Industry with Cutting-Edge Technologies. I would like to present to you, first of all, our moderator, Dr. Matthew Maheras, CIO, Metrostar Management, and Vice President of AMMITEC. Our panelist, Mr. Katerina Raptaki, Digital Transformation, Cybersecurity from Navios Group of Companies. Fouad Chaarani, Managing Partner, Xenatus Global. Fulvio Solari, Head of Sales, Arribatec Marine. Daniele Bottazzi, Manager, Asset Manager, MS Cruises. And Ms. Elena Matzaridou, Combuss Business Consultants. The panel is yours.
Okay. Good morning to all with this first panel and the very hot topic of AI-powered digital technologies. I would like to, we have already introduced our panel. I would like to start with let's start from the general and go to the specifics. Okay, I would start with, let's start with the providers, I would say. Let me start with Fouad. Okay?
Sure.
So, how can AI, along with digitization and machine learning, be best utilized to optimize vessel operations that I think we care for, be it performance per se, be it safety, and reduce emissions, of course.
Absolutely. Thank you, and good morning, everybody.
Morning.
So when we look at AI and how can it best help with these things, we have to look at what my colleague Paris spoke about earlier, which is getting the data, getting the connectivities. Once we're able to get access to data that is typically very hard to get your hands around it or is desperate in different systems, if you're able to integrate into it, if you're able to harness it in a platform, then that data starts to give the AI model the abilities to actually operate, the abilities to help you. Like, for example, if we look at vessels that need to go to dry docking, right? You do it based on your plant maintenance systems. You do it based on what you're getting data around. But if you had more insights into water temperatures, sea changes, fuel consumption, various things, and if you had a mechanism that actually can calculate and help you with this, you might be able to then start saving on costs, may be able to start saving on different ways of how you route your vessels. So AI is just gonna provide the human the information. We still have to make the ultimate decision. But today, to make that ultimate decision, we have to go through so much work to make it. AI is just gonna make it faster.
So I guess you're talking about getting sensors, more sensors, We already have sensors, getting more sensors and more data.
More sensors, more data, and more external sources that I can actually harness to offset what my sensors would do. So I'm not just relying on one, I'm relying on a variety of information, and then I accumulate all of it to provide me with the right information.
Like the weather input that we
Absolutely, that's
okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Let me go to Elena. I would like to talk about disruption. What do you think are the most significant digital disruption impacting the maritime industry today? And how are they changing our companies, the maritime companies, and the competitive landscape out there?
Mantho, I will almost add to what Fouad said. I think I see transformative innovations like, of course, artificial intelligence is one of them, but I think it's very crucial to underline the catalytic role of satellite connectivity, the low Earth orbit connectivity, that is the requirement for the sensors to operate, for cloud computing to operate. So I think this is the most transformative technology. In the time being, I don't see any disruptions from the initiatives that we see around our market, and there are so many, there are so much millions of dollars invested in new tools and new initiatives. And also, at the time being, if you want me to comment on another innovative, transformative solution, I would say I see wind-assisted propulsion in combination with real-time, powered by artificial intelligence weather routing, to build a momentum and have this power to transform the market. In the future, I believe autonomous shipping will somehow disrupt the market by, first of all, reshaping some of the IMO conventions, like the call regs, for example, or the minimum manning requirements on ships. But it remains to be seen. It's too early yet to say that we will have a disruption. However, what I want to add to Fouad is that the fact that we have to consider the segregation of companies, of shipping companies. Here in Athens, a recent research from Navtika Chronika and from the Greek shipping publications show that in Athens and Piraeus we have about 600 companies, 600 shipping companies managing 5,000 ships. From these companies, 55% are small companies operating 1 to 5 vessels. 28% approximately are medium companies operating up to 15 vessels, and only 15% are big companies. Big companies can have sensors installed, big budgets to operate these kind of tools. But what about small companies? I think the question remains that is it that the gap widens or between large and small companies, or are the small companies and the medium companies are going to keep up the space of technological advancements and be active in the competitive landscape? I don't know.
It's getting harder for the smaller companies, not only in technology front, but also regulations. Lots of regulations that also require technology. Okay, more and more and more and more. And I hear discussions, more discussion coming up. How can you handle all those regulations and requirements and data, even data coming from these regulations and requirements, okay? That's a question that pops up every now and then. And I would say LEO is a great low orbit satellite.
Low Earth orbit, yes.
Yeah, are a great game changer. The numbers say the adoption rate is similar to the ones we see in the social networks for the first time in our industry. 1 year and a half, almost everybody has Starlink getting.
Yes, but not in the business networks so much, more for the crew.
Yeah, but the adoption is great, and we might even have other problems like, spoiling officers and crew on board, thinking that it's just an extension of the office and they can have everything. Okay, we will come back to that. Okay, let me go to Daniele, and had a very nice presentation earlier. And how do you envision technology shaping exactly the day-to-day operations, not so much, the long-term and all this fantastic stuff, in the maritime industry in the near future?
Well, let me say that we are surrounded of technology, okay? The point to me is to separate what is the strategic technology. I'm talking about more related to artificial intelligence. For example, for us, it's crucial now to re-understand which will be our itineraries according to the new regulations of the emissions. Because probably in the next future, we won't be able to do the same trips, because to do the same trips, we have to sail at 15 knots. At 15 knots, we are out of the emissions. So we have to recalculate all our commercial things. And this is very, very much driven by the data we are collecting in terms of revenues, in terms of emissions, in terms of budget. And this is very helpful. So this is something that we can easily do according to its, okay, it's not easy, but it's doable. It's another point to me when you apply the technology to the persons. Because the problem I see that according to the people we have on board and the new equipment we are buying, so even a new oven or a new fridge, it's like a computer, okay? So the problem is, and according to the time we have for the handover, for the training, we leave the people basically in front of this technology. They are not able to handle sometimes, okay? I'm not talking only, I'm just putting the example of the ovens, but okay, now we are building the ships of LNG. Okay, LNG, it's a big revolution. So you need LNG engineers, you need okay. But when you do basically something new, like, I would like to tell you this thing. In the new ship, the World Europa I showed you before, my colleagues of marketing, which are the genius, they put this new thing that you as a passenger, you can have your plant, you can put the seeds, and you can have your lettuce or your vegetables growing during the weekend. You can eat it. Fantastic. New technology. We have the app to see how this vegetable is growing. But the plumber who has to fix, the pipes to do the irrigation, is the same guy who was doing the sink, So we are moving different speeds, the things. So to me, to embrace technology and to make it work has to be, okay, you can have something just to put on, okay, to launch. But to me, the biggest challenge is to put all the base and to grow together and to make it useful, not just because we have to show that we have this technology. You know what I'm saying? So this is, to me, is the point.
So this with the plans in the luxury, or both?
No, both.
Okay.
Both.
Yeah. Great.
No, this is not luxury. This is the contemporary ships. So the World America is not luxury. So, but every ship has new thing. Every 2 years, we build a new ship. 1 year and 2 years. And the guys, they come on board, they're like, what the hell? What is this? It's a Discovery Channel every time. So
So there is a tech fatigue, let's say, with all these tools and everything. Okay.
Make it work, it takes also training, people, engage the people. Otherwise, it's just, okay, beautiful toy, but... Well,
That's a nice pass to the next question that I have for Katerina and Fulvio, from the term of the user, the maritime company, and the provider. So what do you think are the obstacles to bringing in new technologies and digitization and all these nice things? How about regulations, people, what?
A little bit of everything, I would say. As Elena mentioned earlier, to me the biggest challenge for the adaptation of digital technology and AI and all this is the lack of strategy within the companies, and not just the large companies and the smaller companies, but all companies. Speaking for myself, coming from a quite large company, I see that we understand the need to embrace technology and go into this direction. We have so many offerings from our providers and the vendors in this field, which are numerous, but we lack the strategy. There is no clear strategy on why do we need technology. Someone to design a path. What we do is we purchase attractive solutions that the vendors push us to adopt. Okay, we buy a piece of software or a technology solution. In most cases, we install it on board the vessel, but we don't know what to do with it. So one thing is the lack of strategy, and that's why I think it's very important to start working into the direction of adopting the role of digital transformation officer within the organizations, who is a person who will play this role, of course, side by side with
I think it is
the management.
starting to happen, but
and it shouldn't
Yes.
be only IT, let me say, because that's what we are having. If you do like only just ICT perspective, it's only theoretical. You have
Yes,
to be
of
connected to the business.
Of course. So this is one thing, one of the obstacles. The other is the complexity of the IT environment and the technology environment. We have so many bits and pieces here and there. If you consider, for example, that the ship is it's like a factory. It has everything. So how are we supposed to make all this environment work as a whole and have a path where we clearly want to go to? Then, of course, the security is another issue. The more digitalized we become, the more vulnerable we are. It's something that is not taken for granted. Most solutions are not designed, don't have security by design. Usually security in these systems is an add-on. When we start complaining that this is not secure, we found a security gap in our first penetration testing or vulnerability assessment, then the vendor comes with a patch. So this is a real issue because the management are waiting us in the corner to say, hey guys, what you provide is not secure, so you're taking your place in the company at a huge risk. Of course, management commitment is #1 requirement. No matter how many systems and how sophisticated they are, if we don't have management commitment, then the whole thing will fail. And also the new generation that is supposed to adopt technology in their daily lives and then come within the organizations to assist with the adaptation of technology.
about management commitment, don't the new regulations, coming like UR26, UR27, unified requirements, also act as a motivation for the owners and the management to, adapt
This is
something new?
to me, this is this is an oxymoron because
Yeah.
supposedly the regulation must be the outcome, must reflect the maturity within the organization and the market. Then we must have the regulation to regulate all this new technology era. In our cases, what I see is the contrary. We are waiting for the regulation to give us a push to adopt technology. And we go to the CEO and say, we must do this, give me the budget, because there is a new regulation. It's not like this, it should be the other way around.
So, Fulvio, what do you think, and also bring in your experience from your clients. What are the obstacles? What do you think makes difficult for them to adopt first? And then regulation, do they affect you? You don't get much hardware on vessels.
Yes, I think that we have touched all the right points. It depends on a case by case, on the size of the company, on the capability, on the culture, on the experience that any company had with other providers. Sometimes for us, it's hard to pass the message that the race is not to comply with technology. We need to comply with what they need. So sometimes when I'm invited and make a presentation to a company that has no structured system in place and want me to show them our solution based on artificial intelligence, to me, is not working, because that's what they do not need. We need always to start with a clear picture of the situation and try to achieve for the solution using the right technology, the screwdriver that we have seen before, the mobile application. Then other technology will follow. So once they have implemented this huge structure process for managing defect, then all this data need to be analyzed in order to take those strategic decisions and tactical decisions that they need in order to do better and comply with regulation and request, of course, from the manager. So that's how I think we should approach. And to me, technologically speaking, the biggest obstacle today is the capability of many vendors to provide a solution that is capable to interconnect with other solutions. Mm-hmm. So enabling the user to choose what they need according to the criteria, not to comply with technology and fancy trends, but with the needs, and choose what is best for you, and enabling all the system to communicate and exchange data.
If I may.
That was, yeah?
If I may, Katerina, I sympathize with you quite a bit. Today, we service clients in 45 countries around the world, and I see this all the time. Companies, whether in maritime or in other sectors, what you guys do is you buy, as a provider, we go in and we look and we see you buying these isolated things all over the place, somebody in IT trying to make them talk together, and God help you if they actually do. The biggest thing that we always tell clients, and especially now, in the new world, it is no longer about individual systems. It is a platform. You have to have the right platform, that the systems are in it, the technology's in it, the process in it, the regulations and the security, and that's where the path forward to enterprises.
Fully agree.
It's more strategic, this one.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
requires more strategic view.
Exactly.
Compared to buy the single,
Exactly.
cherry picking.
Absolutely.
I think there is a mentality of short-termism, let's say, in the maritime industry. As I always say, the owners always listen to two things from my experience. It's either comply with the regulation or make more money.
Of course.
Always on a short to medium term, not very long term. So if you have a solution that saves money or makes money, okay, go in.
Bring it in.
You build a small island. If you need to cover regulation fast, because usually we remember all regulations like 2 to 3 months before they come in effect, another solution to cover the regulation, short term. And then you have this, the islands.
Yeah.
You end up with a spaghetti.
Silos.
Spaghetti, yes. So
Manfred, just to add another thing that I thought. What we see in shipping, of course, we all agree that shipping is a very attractive industry. Everyone wants to do business with shipping companies. We as IT managers are, wanted. So for sure, one thing that is a problem is that all these vendors that operate in the industry, and not only in maritime, but even outside maritime, they don't have the specific and deep knowledge of the business. They come with a solution that is fine for another company, but it's not applicable in maritime. And they think that they can bring the revolution in our industry by providing a sensors solution. Okay, we have hundreds, if not thousands, of vendors who have sensors and their relevant solution.
But
To
how
me,
many
it's very
systems you have you don't use, for example? Every single machine maker of machinery brings their system to control the machine.
Yes.
I don't know, on our ship we have 200 systems to collect data.
Maybe even more.
Maybe more. So what I have to do? What the hell? What I can have 200 heads to see the things? So that's also because everyone who makes a manufacture of something says, okay, who better than me can control this one and give you their software?
Exactly.
Okay, another one. So that's what we're saying.
And most importantly, even if you manage, eventually, if you manage to control these 200 systems, you don't know what supposedly you need to control with them. What is the nominal and the optimum way for these systems to operate?
Become to the strategic view of the digitalization.
Right.
Okay.
Can I add something to this, Manthos?
Of course.
These non-standardized systems have triggered the International Maritime Organization to approve this year the strategy on digitalization, a new strategy on digitalization that the Facilitation Committee decided this April. So we expect to see many developments from that side this year.
That's a fact, and you know the same.
Very good.
The same approach. You know that things are different on land than on the vessels. You will have it even from governments. If you see the EU ETS regulation, which is made for factories, and it's fine for factories. It's a totally heavy thing. I only see the information system part of it, and it's like running a stock exchange or something.
Yeah, purchasing carbon alliances for the emissions.
Doesn't fit right
Yeah.
with the maritime industry. It fits nice with a factory. It's not only vendors, also governments. Everybody thinks what we have on land we just transfers on the vessel, and that's fine for them. But coming back to IMO regulation, let me ask Katerina, because in there are some things about the autonomous vessels, and we see autonomy sneaking in our vessels, either we know it or not. I have personal experience. What do you think, Katerina? What's the tangible things on autonomy right now? How is it going?
Okay, we need to, not for us in shipping, but for the wider industry, we need to clarify that when we talk about autonomous vessels, we are not talking about the next 2 years or 3 years or so. It will take maybe a decade or 2 decades to move into this direction fully. There are already some autonomous or semi-autonomous vessels out there in some ports, or the famous Yara ship, or some short ferry lines that are remotely controlled, not autonomous, because there is a confusion there. Autonomous means that it takes decision on its own, if we define exactly the term. And this is the tricky thing. What makes us terrified in the thought is that a ship on its own will take decisions on how to avoid the collision or how to deal a complex situation. So we will eventually go there with the assistance of AI and with all the technology that is already there, but we have a long way to go. And one factor here that we need to consider is that we don't yet have the skills, the soft and hard skills required for the eventually autonomous vessel.
Okay.
So a long way to go.
The fact, I was talking about sneaking
Take
in.
into consideration that a few years back we were on fleet F-77 and mini, whatever it was called, Mini M. And thanks God that COVID brought us to this stage that we moved a little bit faster than before, taking into consideration for 2 years we ran a lot of things remotely. AI is the thing that is we're talking today, and I was watching a film yesterday and was saying instead of artificial intelligence, you have to think about it as authenticated ideas. So I don't know if this is something that you can consider and discuss further, but please continue, Martha. Thank you very much.
In fact, just the other day I fell on a memo 15 years ago in my company talking about a small fleet. We have bulkers, and the IT department said, okay, keep fleet 77 for the moment. That's very funny. I laughed, really. They already had it on board. They were talking about, removing it or let it there, but they sold the vessels after all. So that's another part of the maritime industry. You have it today, maybe tomorrow it's another person's problem.
Yes, and don't forget that the whole thing with LEO satellites and AI, two different things, they showed up in no time.
Yeah.
In like 1 month, all of a sudden ChatGPT came into our lives. We had no clue before this, at least speaking for myself. We found ourselves in front of a computer following guidelines and presenting us with
But I'm saying the vendors, I think, we have vendors here but not hardware, I think they have chosen the sneak in the sideways to come in, not the direct, because they have commercial offerings right now that they can take control of the vessel in the open sea and correct direction, not take it totally, but correct some degrees, control the engine at the same time, and actually, drive it like an autopilot in our cars without hands on the. That's autonomy, and it works with AI. They prefer not to say much about autonomy and AI. They call it optimization.
Yes.
See? Marketing drives a lot of things. Okay.
That brings us to our obligation to take care of our contractual agreements.
Exactly.
Which is a theme that is usually overlooked. We have to, it's our mutual benefit to take care of the contractual agreement for the use of every application, every solution, software, hardware, etc., to avoid these kind of situations.
Right.
Yes, and to inform, that's where regulation come back in. You have to control, you can't let it just flow in there, and then what happens, happens. And let me come back to Fouad, had this nice question. Looking forward and, more envisioning, what do you think would be the major changes in the next 5, 10 years? Because we already have many nice things. What do you see coming?
It's a really, really good question. And I'm going to actually not talk about AI, of what I think is coming. I think a technology that's going to take the shipping industry by a bit of a storm, when it's viable, is 3D printing. Imagine tomorrow on a vessel, whatever breaks, instead of you having to go to port, instead of you having to print it on board the vessel. That is, I believe, a game changer in the maritime industry.
This has been for a while discussed,
Yeah,
Members
absolutely.
of universities having initiatives.
Absolutely, and I
parts like, what was it, for the doors? Not
yes.
like
Knobs,
I actually read an article recently. I'm not a chemist, I can't remember the name of the technology, but they have in the chemistry now a way to print almost the same strength as metal through 3D printing. When this technology becomes cost efficient and viable, I believe this will make a very big change in the maritime industry.
And the owners would like it because
Of course.
spares and
Of
the POS
course.
would go down.
It will disrupt the
Yeah.
spare parts industry.
Yeah.
Plus shipping,
Then the cost will
Forwarding.
become, you know, in who owns the design.
yeah.
That
Absolutely.
will be the cost.
It will take some years though, because 3D printing is easier on land than on the vessel because of the vibrations and so on and so on.
Correct.
Indeed.
So there are a lot of problems to be solved before we go on the vessels. And of course, the skills that are needed to do that.
That's where AI starts to come in, right? So once they're able to, as you said, with the vibrations, with the way it is, the size of the 3D printers to also compact them, and so on, then from a skills perspective, this is where AI starts to augment what comes in it. Exciting times.
Okay, I see that our time is up, so any final remarks or questions from the audience?
There are no mentioned in the app, so
Okay. So we're done. Thank you. And
thank you very much.
let's continue this very nice conference.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
Φωτογραφία όλοι.
Very much.